Welcome to the Rezbt-S Podcast. My name is Rez Toledo. Ito po ang napakabagong teknolohiya ng pagpa-podcasting. Trying to come off really strong here at the start of the show just to get things started, just to get my mouth sort of warmed up. And if you are viewing from Facebook right now, you could see me doing a walang kwenta type of feed, yung tipong wala namang ginagawa, nakaupo lang. I'm also doing like a dual ah, dual camera thing here with another phone. Medyo pasinghot-singhot ako dito kasi marami akong nasinghot na alikabok. Naglilinis kasi ako ng bahay. And I'm kind of like one of those guys who, um, yeah, my nose is just funny recently. Or if it's acting up, I'm trying really hard to not let it affect the content. But yeah, it's just some, parang trivial thing about me. Also, I'm deeply adjusting to my environment here. I am broadcasting. I'm recording live in a studio. I'm recording because I hope you don't mind me pausing every once in a while. But um, I'm recording from a live studio because sorry, from my own studio because wala namang rason. It's just really a big part of my lifestyle. I remember one of my guests before they were making music, they were hip hop artists, diba? I'll start you off with this anecdote. Galing sila dito and I was being pinapakilala sa akin and they were talking about, tinan mo yung lifestyle ng mga to. Ito yung lifestyle ng mga ano to, mga broadcaster talaga or mga or people see it as like broadcasting, but for me podcasting is really a different thing. One, because I'm not really recording. Sometimes I broadcast it live, but since I'm in my monologic series, I am really trying to record monologues. And I remember one of the hip hop artists that I handled before when I was doing music work, a lot of music work. Sabi nila, "Tingnan mo yung mga ano na to, tingnan mo yung mga lifestyle ng mga to, 'di ba? Ganito lang, always productive." I think that's what it meant because at that point, both those guys have daughters, and they were literally into, of course, knowledge promulgation and maybe even the monk industry, right? And we all know that monks live in caves, and a lot of um, parang sa memes, 'di ba, parang underground daw. It's not really a basement. I am at level with I think SM Marikina. If tinapyas ko tong nasa higher part of the bundok, pag tumingin ako ng ganun, nasa medyo kasi katapat ko yung yung floors ng cinema sa SM Marikina. So, it's really sort of from that location, and we have to be really honest about that because this show is all about the Shinto angular approach. And what is the Shinto angular approach? Yung Shinto angular approach po ay yung sinasabi kong talagang kadikit na lente ng base Tagalog theory of everything that I coined for my show, coined for my productive purposes, for my book, for my writings. Na napansin ko na yung Tagalog at pinopostulate nito ng theory na to, yung Tagalog incorporates a lot of English words already. What does that mean if we are incorporating, using and accepting yung paglologos, yung meaning, yung heuristics. Finally got that down. Heuristics of English words, of the English word kingdom, right? That if we accept that as base Tagalog, as Tagalog, ano yung ibig sabihin nun sa pagsasalita natin and paano tayo ngayon maapektuhan na to? How does this create for us in our contemporary time a better understanding of what is happening now and also a better understanding of what will happen in the future? And as I write up this whole theory, as I talk about it, I realize, a podcast is really a great way to be part of it. I recently came up with a Rezbt-S Podcast Hub group on Facebook. I will link it down on the comments and description. Sana ma-join nyo. I'm inviting everyone to be part of that and um, just talk about what I talk about. I've been posting memes there. It's just like a parang subsidiary kind of group to this podcast space already. And before I start the show, yun nga, I was preparing for this to be honest kanina. I kind of wanted to, remind everyone that the Shinto angular approach is something that even though ako pa lang yung nagsasabi, sometimes people say it, sino ba yan? Sino ba yan? Sino naman to? Ganun, diba? They say that because they're using that lens, right? Um, what I wanted to remind everybody is that there are in our culture, in our Philippine culture, or especially in our technocratic world, technocratic side of the Philippines, yung mga technocrats, yung mga boss sa matataas na mga gagaling sa computer, kunwari. O kaya magagaling sa systems, they broke the system, they fix it, or they're holding it together. I remind you that these guys are really old people, or just pretty old and I mean that from experience, from seeing them, growing up with some of them. But I realize, some of in our especially in our industry, some of the bosses talaga really are nandiyan na 20 years nang nandyan. Kumbaga, they are the foundations of what we know now as the existing industry, especially in recording industry, diba? That's a practice in the recording industry cultures. It means that it shares the valuing of the Shinto angular approach. And before I get bago pa ako tumagal masyado, let's start you off with a great song over here that was produced. That was mixed in this studio by a foreign artist and a local artist, named the Suck and Lavado. He came up with this song, and I'm using it as an intro. Wala pa naman nagreklamo. Everybody likes it so far. So let's start the show. Welcome to the Rezbt-S Podcast.
Show my rice, show my rice, show my Ako ay nagugutom, gusto ko show my rice. Show my rice, show my rice, show my Ako ay nagugutom, gusto ko show my rice. Ayy, show my rice with the grits and beans. Stepped out the house, yeah, I'm so clean. From ATL to the Philippines. Show my rice, it's yummy. Show my rice in my tummy. Show my rice when it's honey. Show my rice whenever I need. Yeah. Show my rice, 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 ayy, show my rice, ayy, show my rice, show my rice. Show my rice, show my rice, show my Ako ay nagugutom, gusto ko show my rice. Show my rice, show my rice, show my Ako ay nagugutom, gusto ko show my rice.
All right. Since I started you off with purpose, alam na lang man yan eh. Gusto ko magsimula dyan sa purpose because, purpose is another big word. I've been using big words and exploring the space between big words recently again. And bakit ko sinasabi yung purpose, diba? Sa pagtatagalog natin minsan, or when you find yourself in this space, kunyari na napabisita ka, kunyari bisita ka, diba? Eh kung tambay ka naman na talaga dito, wala naman na ako talagang masyadong keme. Anyway, right? So, purpose, right? Minsan pagpasok mo pa lang, kumakatok ka pa lang, sasabihin sa'yo ng mga tao sa loob. Or ang unang-unang isipin nila without even saying or talking about it is, ba't ka na pandito? Ba't ka na parito? Ba't ka nandito? Uh, Forgive me for the bulol-bulol side. I'll get to it right after. But ba't ka ba naparito? Ba't ka nandito, 'di ba? Gaganon yung kakilala mo doon, yung pinunta mo doon sa space na yun, sabihin niyo, ba't ka nandito? May purpose ka ba dito? And logically speaking, right? When you go there, sabihin sa'yo ng mga tao, isip mo agad, o nga no, ba't ba ako nandito sa opisina? May kiihi ba ako? May kikain ba ako? Ano ka ba? Bibisitahin ko ba yung chicks namin na boss? 'Di ba? May bagong chicks na boss eh. Gusto kong makita. 'Di ba? O kaya gusto kong malaman yung pangalan. Gusto ko kunin yung card. Tapos lalagay ko sa wallet ko. It's great purpose. That's purposeful enough. Especially if you're young. When you're older, sometimes, especially when you're friends pa with your superiors, it's not about that anymore eh. Wala naman kayong hinahanap na minsan talaga eh. Ang hinahanap nyo na minsan talaga fellowship, sort of corollaries na parang, parehas pala tayong trabaho eh, diba? Ba't ka napaakyat dito eh? Parehas naman tayo ng trabaho, kahit naman nasa taas ako, kahit naman nasa baba ka. Isa lang yung ginagawa natin, diba? So, ano yung purpose? And then you have to state it. Sabi mo, kasi itong papeles ko na 'to kailangan ng ganitong requirement. Yung papeles na may ink dadagdagan pa ng manual ink, 'di ba? Ito kasi yung papeles natin na pinrint gamit ang printer ng electronic ink, kailangan pa pala ng ano, manual ink na galing sa kamay ng may pangalan na may posisyon, alright? If you can follow that, then bagay na bagay ka sa content na 'to. If you can't follow that logic, "Wag ka na dito, wag ka na dito, wag ka ano, sabihin mo sa nanay mo, paalala sa'yo na, "Uy anak, wag ka muna diyan kasi ano yan, eh, yung content na yan, akala mo lang ganyan-ganyan, easy-easy lang." But it goes it goes I kinda, and I'm saying it for the disclaimer part of the show, right? I kinda go into the cracks of what you think you know, what I think I know, what we think we know, and then sometimes kasi 'pag dumating tayo sa crack na yun, may nalalaman mo kahit sabihin mo pa na matalino ka or mahilig ka sa mga radikal na kabobohan, kahit pa sabihin mong ano, kayang-kaya mo na yun o kaya mong i-ingest yun, minsan ano ka, eh, mahi-hit ka nun. It's like a time bomb, you guys play Bomberman. Sometimes what you pick up from there and you take out into your own space, into your own, you know, idealism, if you don't have enough HP, if you don't have the right codes, sasabog sa yan eh, eventually. Not naman to really generate kakornihan here, but yun ang style ng mga ano eh, enculturized men. Yung mga umiinom ng Yakult. Anyway, so baka kasi sabihin mo, baka sisihin mo ako eventually na dapat pala hindi na ako nakinig diyan. And maraming gano'n, maraming gano'n. I have experienced people like that na, damn, I was wrong for being too early in the show. If you are a returning sort of listener naman, hello, my name is, same pa rin yung name ko. Ano, Rez Toledo pa rin. And I'm still talking about a lot of things, you know. If you ever met me in person, I do talk about this, or you have if we've had coffee in an office somewhere, if we've had coffee in ganun kasi ako, eh, minsan yung 'di ba may mga kitchen yung office, pinapasok ko yun eh. Tapos makiki-coffee lang talaga ako sa mga boss. Kasi alam ko naman yung mga boss, hindi mga 20 years na sila sa trabaho nila. Wala silang makausap, wala silang alam mo yun, minsan ang reklamo sa akin ng mga ganyan, mga Shinto angular approach na what's the word? Oyabun. Na wala naman daw ibang matalino sa organisasyon nila, or may mga ibang organisasyon na yung matalino lang dun, yun lang yung nakakausap nila. Eh di sila lang din yung organisasyon. Everyone else is just pinapakain lang. You know what I mean? Sometimes your bosses, if you're listening, and you're like a banker, minsan mararamdaman mo yan eh. Yung Shinto angular approach nga na, oo nga, nagkakatuwaan lang naman yung mga boss kasi siyempre sila yung mga mas malalakas na sumweldo. And you wonder sometimes, bakit ano, bakit, bakit kami hanggang dito lang, 'di ba? Bakit naman kami inaapi porket ganito yung posisyon namin, porket ganito lang yung desk namin, 'di ba? Or ganito lang yung part namin sa sistema. It's because sometimes when you're in a determinalist kind of, thinking, a lot of girls have this, a lot of women have this. Determinalist, yung parang inaamin nila na hanggang dito lang ako eh. Or ito lang yung abot ng kaya ko eh, sa abot ng makakaya ko. Or ito lang yung kailangan ko. Ito naman yung pinili ko para sa sarili ko. Then that's really where you find yourself. And then sometimes, minsan pa, sasabihin mo, tatanggapin ko na lang to. Nakalimutan mo. Sa 5 years mong nagtatrabaho, pwede ka naman lumipat ng trabaho. Pwede ka namang mag-explore. 24 ka pa lang, wala ka pang anak, right? May ano ka naman, may squamine force ka naman na at any time pwede kang mag-inspire from, anime, and then like, become the protagonist of your own adventure, right? The protagonist. This is the basic way we practice logic, I think. We practice logic in our lives, yung causation. As we recall all this, maybe you're taking notes, you're doing, "Oh, oo nga pala 'no, ganito nga pala yung mga trip ng mga nag-college 'no." Okay, causation, right? When you think about that na, aralin pa natin 'di ba ano ba yung mga talagang gumagawa ng agency. Hindi naman ano, eh, hindi naman talino yung gumagawa ng agency, eh. Yung talino actually yung brain plasticity, yung kung ano yung nasa loob ng utak mo. It's really, part of just the machine, right? It's just really part of the, um, I think I'm coming off too hot there. Bababaan ko lang yung monitoring ko. It's really part of that, like part yung arte, part yung performance, part yung kung ano yung pinipigil mo, kung ano yung gusto mo, kung ano yung talagang gusto mong sabihin, what you take so long to say, it's part of that. Kunyari, um, may minamahal ka sa buhay, may kaka-Valentine's nyo lang, may gusto kang sabihin. Pero hindi mo magawang sabihin talaga kasi ano, gusto mo, you take the road, ang tawag sa ganun? Road less traveled, road less whatever, yung parang yung konti lang yung dumadaan daw kunwari gano'n. Para mabigyan mo ng example yung bata mo, 'di ba? Para mabigyan mo anyway, sometimes you're lalaki, you think like that. And you realize, what is all this BS, 'di ba? What is all this paligoy-ligoy? And now, akala ko ba ninja ako? Eh, bakit ang dami kong paligoy-ligoy, dami kong mga pasikot-sikot, beating around the bush, butterflies in my stomach kind of thing. It's because sometimes you're really stuck with the logic of expressing things. The logic of showering yourself with more words and being a part of the environment of the world of forms, the world of ideas, the world um of uh uh, strong the spiritual world where sabi ni na Beethoven, the artists, inaakit sila dyan tapos paglalaroan sila ng mga spirito. Diba? Naramdaman mo na ba yun kahit sa work? Sabihin mo ng ghosts or spirito yung mga, kasi Facebook friends mo naman lahat ng kawork mo, diba? Bakit nag-uusap pa talaga kayo sa Facebook? Hindi, diba? Yung pag-uusap, it takes minutes. It takes, you know, ba't ka ba ganyan magsalita, Rez? Ba't anong nagsasabi mo? It's because, we are being fed. Haven't you realized you're being fed yung pagkain ng ipis? Alam mo yung pagkain ng Genius Ipis class? Yung tagal-tagal niyo nung pinapakain ng ganito, yung mga 3-minute bits, 5-minute bits, 4-minute bits, tapos tuwa ka pa, yeah, sarap ka sa ganun, diba? Get what movie this is now? Sarap na sarap ka sa ganun, you realize, ito lang yung kaya ng data ko eh, 3 minutes eh. Okay na ako dito, diba? Na-excite na ako sa ganitong pagkain. Anyway, and then you realize, but there are these shows, meron silang platform that make us forget about that. Na dating addict ako sa ganitong klaseng canned foods, spam, corned beef, you know, sardinas, pinapatulang ko yan eh. Alala ko talaga dati minsan, how my system works is like, um, pag nasasali ako sa sardinas ng MRT, diba? Taga Metro Manila ako, nagtitrain ako. Pag minsan na nasali ako sa pag nasali ako minsan sa siksikan ng MRT tapos parang sardinas kayo dun, 'di din lalong minsan amoy sardinas din. Lalong sorry, I digress a bit. Lalong naaalala ko yung lasa ng sardinas, yung pagkain ng mahirap, so to speak, right? Eh, kumakain din naman ako nun. Kuwento ko lang, minsan may nakakilala sa'kin sa train, and katabi ko, kadikit ko mismo, ganyan siya. Sabi niya sa'kin, buong ride gumaganon siya sa'kin, sabi ko, ako naman parang, "Ano ba 'to?" Siyempre 'di ba masikip, eh. Sabi ko, "Ano ba 'to?" Paglabas ng train medyo maluwag na, bumati siya sa'kin. So very, very respectful naman nung mga tao na nakikilala sa'kin. And I appreciate that from my audience, we're growing the Rezbt-S Podcast community hub now. We're at around 200 members. Thank you for accepting, by the way. Ito na po yung ginagawa ko ngayon. Wala na po akong ibang trabaho. Iniiwanan ko na yung pagbumusika kasi wala naman akong magandang napala sa pagbumusika. Nakilala ko lang yung mga kaklase ko lang din. 'Di ba? Okay, mga kaklase ko from ibang batch. Hindi naman sa pinapababa ako, 'di ba? They have their own work. They have their own industries to take care of. But for me, It's just really I'm coming off, not that I'm coming off as marunong. It's just, you know, I I uh I wanna retire. I wanna retire from music really. And of course, deep in my heart, ginagaya ko lang yung style sa akin ni Rico before na te-text ko siya. Sabi ko kay Rico, "Oh, collab naman tayo bro." Sabi niya, "Wala na. Wala na, mag-retire na ako bro eh. Mag-retire na ako bro eh." Tapos puta, nalaman ko mga a year after, he comes out with an album na yung best friend ko yung nag-drawing ng ano, ng album niya. Anyway, I'm from that community, right, of bros, right? Anyway, but like really, I'm really feeling it na parang just like the producers I looked up to in the music scene, I also want to retire. I also feel like wala na akong maipapalag masyado sa music scene. Halos kilala ko na lahat ng kailangan kong makilala sa music scene, and if yeah, you are having trouble with the music scene, then go to these people. Don't go to me. You can go to me, but this isn't a tulfo show. Eh. This isn't a sumbong sumbong show. Eh. This is my show. We're here to talk about why I am starting to really drive myself into teaching logic. And eto na, sasabihin ko na. So kasi yeah, pinarolyo na natin, dumating na tayo ngayon sa sound and why you sound like the way you do, and why you listen to this type of content anyway. It's because of sound, and within the philosophy of sound, within the processing of sound, is even you can still find logic there. And an anecdote that reminds me of this, and an experience that reminds me of this, is really when things happen in the world that changes your dila, changes the way you bring out air from your lungs, and the way you use your esophagus and your tongue, or the way you hear stuff, kung anong gusto mong marinig, kung ano yung maganda sa maganda sa para sa pakikinig mo, something like that. Um, this reminds me really of the experiences of my friends, close friends, na during the pandemic, nag may nakakulang eh. May nabawas, may losses tayo. Everyone had losses during the pandemic, right? Ngayon pa lang medyo binabawi pero nakatakip naman ng mask, 'di ba? Anyway, sa pagbabawas na 'yon, we needed to be reminded of who or what faculties there are left that will maintain sort of our culture that was lost. What I mean by that is yung culture ng pagsasalita, culture ng communication, conversation, calls, right? Everyone got into this sort of Zoom call kind of processing na parang, okay, sa Zoom call, we're in boxes. If it's my turn to speak, then I will speak, and then I will do it the best way I can, right? I will do it the best way that, depende sa agenda ko, or kung wala akong agenda if I'm just a listener. But the idea is, even a lot of us really lost the propensity, the capacity to sort of be able to speak the way we used to. Eh ako naman nung bata ako, hindi man ako ganito talagang magsalita. Siguro yung tone, not as much the lexicon, but now I'm practicing. I'm one of those guys who really kind of drive themselves na to visit sort of these unknown worlds of vocabulary in order for me to translate them into what I call now base Tagalog, right? And yung example na to, sinasabi ko kasi hindi na ako mismo, I haven't really counted to 100 in a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And along that way, I can't be perfect. Try mo ngayon, diba? Magbilang ka ng 1 to 100. Kaya mo bang perfectin yun? Yung kapatid mo, kaya bang perfectin yun? Yung nanay mo, kaya bang perfectin yun? Just count to 1 to 100. Easy. Count to 1 to 100. Count 1 to 100. Tell yourself that's easy. And you realize somewhere in here, it's telling you, oh damn, this isn't something's wrong with my brain now, right? Nagkulang na ako yung sasabihin ko yung 70, 78, 79, o kaya 81, 82, 83, 84, 'di ba? Yung kung wala ka naman sa ganung trabaho, yung bilangan na manual, 'di ba? Yung sa factory space na bilangan ng mga ganyan, minsan sa utak mo lang sinasabi mo eh. Ah, kunyari pababa, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, right? Apply mo pa yung mga accents na alam mo. 94, right? But then you realize that's just in your mind. It's not here. It's not in the jaw, right? And that's how you realize, damn, I've lost more than I think I did, right? More than I think, and I have even lost what is important. Na yung mismong akala kong kaya ko pa rin gawin, na natutunan ko na ang lahat, kaya ko nang gawin lahat, sabi ko sa sarili ko, yumabang ka kunwari, I used to be able to do this. Now, since the exercise part is gone, it was taken over by this whole order, new order. You realize, I need to breathe in and breathe out and be aminin. Aminin sa sarili ko, aminin sa mga kaibigan ko na, Chong, di ko na pala kaya yung ganito. Hindi na ako as good as I think I am. Hindi na ako as macho as I think I am. Akala ko may six-pack pa ako, pero four-pack na lang pala. Minus two. And even that logic, six minus two, four, right? Some of you pause. Some of you pause. Some of us I mean, I'm not the math genius. I can't even the multiplication table, yung mga, alam niyo naman sasabi ko, yung logarithmic functions, yung mga exponential functions, trigonometry, the math stuff. Because a lot of people say easy math, easy math. Oh, sige, easy math, easy math. Pwede mo na ma-google. Tama, pwede mo na ma-google. But like, on your own, if you're, if you get my Chinese drift over here, hindi naman lahat ng Chinese, stereotype lang naman yun sa mga Chinese na magaling mag-math. And the explanation for that is because of the characters, right? That 10, 1 is 11. The characters say it. There's 10 there and 1 there. There's a there's a character for something that elevates and multiplies to the tenths, and then there's characters for the digits. Sa ibang kultura wala namang ganun eh. And yun. This is how you get reminded of your losses, right? Kung di mo naman sinulat, 'di ba? Hindi mo naman talaga isusulat lahat ng losses eh. 'Di ba? Sa pag nagti-Tinder ka ba, pag yung mga exes ba binibilang mo? O yung mga likes binibilang? Hindi naman eh, yung mga likes lang binibilang mo eh. Yung mga ano ba, yung mga kaklase mo na hindi mo na kinakausap binibilang mo. Hindi naman, sobrang dami na nun eh. Ang bilangin mo yung mga nag-heart sa'yo, 'di ba? Yung mga gusto mong, yung mga parang nagpaparamdam sa'yo na, oy, ikaw yung nakapila ka dito wala kang namang serbisyo eh. 'Di ba? Parang yung expectation nila of you, dinadala nila yan. Sinisimplehan ka lang yan. Nilalike ka kunwari. Either gusto ka niyan ligawan, minamanyak ka niyan, o kaya may paka yan sa kung anumang network na nasaan ka. And that's just true. That's just true for everyone. Um, in my case, it's kind of like just the symbiosis for the social media because I need an audience for my show. I need an initial sort of group of people who can have this feeling that they're in a live audience, that they're being part of this space. And even though I don't care what you're doing, right? I've already said na you can jog with this, you can sleep with this, you can um, share. Yung iba kumakain while listening to podcasts, of course. Yung iba gusto lang talaga nila to be part of, nahanap mo na kasi parang ano ka eh, parang ikaw yung bata na tagal ko na tong pinapakinggan eh. Dito magtutuloy-tuloy na ako dito, 'di ba? Magiging very welcoming naman yung space. You have followed sort of the history of what I've been doing as a producer. Now that I'm doing podcasts, you're like, hey, I'm part of that, 'di ba? 'Di ba? I want to be part of that. Gusto ko 'yan eh. Gusto ko 'yan. Yun lang naman yun. Simpleng-simple lang yun. And that is the purpose of you being part of this show. And I really do consider that. I see your stuff on my feed, right? I see what you're up to. I see the signals, the messages and hence I also I also come into the worlds of meaning. If you're for example posting about your son, your daughter, how small they are, how cute they are, it means that for me automatically, oh, you're in kawaii mode, right? You're in like hey, look at us mode, right? Sometimes I'm not there because a lot of rich people follow me. A lot of really rich people and rich friends follow me, and I am super clear to everyone that this isn't about the rich and poor. This isn't about if you can kung mahilig ka na nakikinig ka lang sa mga magagaling mag-Ingles or mahilig ka lang talaga makihalubilo, maki-ano, puwede naman. And that's exactly what content creation space is for. Wala naman diyang ano, wala naman diyang labanan kung mahirap o hindi. Ang labanan diyan kung medyo discriminative kayo, paano kayo magsalita. Eh, marami namang di nagsasalita sa space na 'to. Maraming sa space na 'to bulag, bingi, 'di ba, gutom. O marami sa space na 'to, ah, um, kumakain ng excuses like going back to that analogy from Snowpiercer, right? All they eat up is excuses, that if the people na nauna na, if they come up with a system that that system that creates sort of headlines na wala namang palang laman, tas if feed doon yung di niyo nakikita na ano, o kaya matagal ka nang wala ka na dun pala, na-realize mo yung pinag-uusapan ko na, nakakain ko naman dun ganito lang na impormasyon. Yung impormasyon na pinapakain sa akin sa show na 'to or yung impormasyon na natututunan ko, nako-connect ko because of this show is worth sort of investing my time on. I'm not trying to, not yet, maybe. I'm not trying to say that you should invest your money here or I'm not saying that also I don't need your money. If you have lots of money, we could talk about it. Wala akong ginagawa sa pera mo. I could sort of really use a new camera. But like, what I mean is, especially in shows like this one, my format, long format, na walang nagsusumbong, walang umiiyak, walang epal, walang masyado. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor. I have my words. I have my project. I have my books. I have my things to study. I have my own dreams. Diba? I have my own reasons. I'm a very independent, free bird, so to speak, na I come into this burrow and but after a while, my passion really is to to do recreational things and study the world, study what's in my backyard, and create for me an intellectual space where I can review, maybe reconnect what I have learned from the past, but also para maibaba ako dun sa gusto kong matutunan bilang base Tagalog, bilang taong nagbe-base Tagalog, bilang taong sumusunod sa base Tagalog. Sinusundan ko yung base Tagalog theory kasi, ililista mo ngayon, sumusunod ako sa base Tagalog theory kasi yung boss ko dati Tagalog eh. Simple lang. O, yung boss ko dati pag galit na siya, tinatagalog niya ako eh. Simple lang, diba? Boss ko dati pag na-passionate na siya, yung subtitles niya Tagalog, 'di ba? Iba yun nga yung question, ba't ba Tagalog, ba't Tagalog, 'di ba? Part of that book over there, yung mga ano, yung Tagalog yung ginagamit ng mga elitista eh, 'di ba? Hindi man ako elitista, ginagaya ko lang din yung ganitong pangangatwiran ng mga elitista eh. Tapos ni-record pa nila, ginagawa nilang rap songs eh, 'di ba? Eh kasi, yung mga elitista ganito sila magsalita, gusto ko rin maki-sound like this eh. 'Di ba? Bata pa ako eh, puwede namang ganito-ganito yung baku-baku yung pagtatagalog ko eh. Wala naman akong pake kung baku-baku yung pagtatagalog mo eh. Ang gusto ko may sinasabi kang may katuturan na nakakatulong dun sa mga taong walang pakialam kung mahirap ka or hindi. Ang importante, yung tinuturo, yung content for the day. Because that is what gets us to the next degree. 'Di ba? Yung degree is out of, kunyari sa bilog, out of 360, yung 180 yung kalahati, 'di ba? Yung degree yung gano'n. Para alam natin kung kailan tayo magfo-full circle. Hindi naman puwedeng sa isang show, sa isang stroke is full circle na. I already mentioned, one podcast is one stroke for this really big picture thing, right? And that maybe teaches or I'm sharing about how to become patient, right? Because I came up with Someday Dream. It's not I'm sorry for bringing it up out there, but like, even in the streaming business, 'di ba? It's not like sometimes you get to a point where you're like, damn, two streams from today till yesterday. Ibig sabihin yung nakinig sa akin kahapon, dalawang tao lang. O baka isang tao lang, nakadalawang loop lang siya. Isipin mo yung gano'n, 'di ba? Yung gano'ng impatience ba? I'm not there now, I'm in a space where thousands of people listen to me, and you are very lucky na you are allowed to be able to interact with me as an artist lang naman, 'di ba? Because yung artists in the space, we borrow eh. We dig. We have a dig. And it only allows for us to, for me specifically, it only allows for me to be able to interact with 0.003% of my audiences, of my aware audiences. Meaning, if this is the awareness bubble that I have created, the sphere of influence that I have created over these years, over the 15 years that I've been making music, making sound, being an expert, trying to cover that 10,000 hour thing of world classiness, over that period of time over of thousands of people of hearing specifically the music or having access to the music, I found out that in social media, ang napapanghawakan ko lang doon, ang napapapunta ko lang dito, nakakausap ko lang, nalalike ko lang sa Facebook ko, sa Instagram ko, sa anywhere, in any social media platform is just 0.003% is within that 0.003%. And yung pagpapakahulugan ko doon sa 0.003% na yon is very important to me. Because yun lang naman, if not, alangan namang 0.0 lang. I'd rather have the 0.003 kesa yung 0.00 nothing, which is nothing. Which is nothing if you just remember zero means nothing, none. But I'd rather have their interaction with the 0.003. Kasama na yung magulang ko doon, yung mga pamilya ko doon. But even that 0.003% of the people I could be tactile with on social media, I realize, man, this already encapsulates my whole clan, because I always say it, my name is Rez Toledo, then my whole clan of like people of saling pusa, kahit yung aso kasali sa clan, diba? Kahit yung aso ko yung aso namin na Bisyon, dalawa. Yung, yung, yung schnauzer namin na itim. Anyway, diba kasali yan sa 0.00% of kung ano yung mapanghahawakan ko. And I could only be honest to those dogs, right? I can't be honest to all the other stuff because in the first place, they don't I don't have the reach for them. You don't, for example, ikaw, you're a listener, and then hindi mo pa mapili yung role mo. Am I gonna be a distributor? Am I gonna be like just a fan? Just a fan, just a listener. Am I gonna be like yung ano lang, nakahilata lang na fan na dito lang naman ako eh. Nandito lang naman ako. Nandito lang naman kami, Rez. Diba, nandito lang naman ako kami forever. Right? Yung mga ganun bang pangangatwira na parang, o sige, diyan ka lang. E di, you're part of the wall, right? You're part of the, kumot lang naman ako eh. Diba? Parang tissue lang ako dito, diba? Ano lang ako dito, quiet lang ako dito. I'm totally fine with that. At least you're part of the bilang. And I'm showing you my logic where you're at in that bilang. You're still in the 0.003% um, sphere that I could interact with. What does that mean for me? Sometimes that math, when I figured out that math, nalungkot talaga ako kasi I do want to affect directly more and more people. Not for community building, not for not for entertainment purposes, because I know that as a technocrat, um, what I have really updates them. They tell me parang, oh, thanks for the update. Alam ko naman yung vocabulary, diba? Tumatalino naman ako everyday, diba? Parang sabihin nila, oh, thanks for the update or thanks for the lead. Hindi naman ganyan ng mga nakakausap ko dati eh. Dati yung mga nakakausap ko, kinikilig to the bones. Alala ko first time ko mag-live from this studio. When this table was over there, I just sat on the floor, nag-live ako. Hindi pa ata ayos masyado yung circle ko noon in social media. Or matagal akong wala sa social media, I think, or that was the first time I really sort of shared myself in social media. May mga ang comment sa akin noon, mga nakakatakot ka palang makitang gumagalaw. Mga ganun. Gumagalaw ka pala talaga. Parang ganun. So, or sabi nila parang, iba pala pag makakita na ng video mo. Parang ganun. And, that hurt me as a kid. That was around 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Kind of hurts because, sometimes definitely definitely one of my, kunyari, may tita role ka na. Kunyari, dito sa Someday Dream Universe world, tita role ka eh. So parang, pag nakita ka nang nag-comment ng ganyan, parang sabi mo, child, wag naman ganyan, child. He's also a person, right? He's also, wag mo siyang gawing static sa buhay mo. Wag mo siyang ikahon sa picture ng lagi nakatayo lang, nakaganyan lang, o kaya yung naka-Indian sit lang, o gano'n. Hindi, I can literally use my fingers. I can literally, alam mo yun, kulang na lang, 'di ba, makipakyu ako dun sa ibang spheres, right? But hindi naman, buti na nga lang hindi ko na talaga ginagawa 'yan because pinagsabihan na rin ako ng mga again, higher ups, superiors that minsan, Rez, huwag ka na sumali sa mga ganyan because it creates, it creates for us trouble that we don't want to deal with. Diba? We don't want to spill the beans eh. Ayaw namin i-spill yung beans eh. Gusto natin, gusto natin mga radical na kabubuhan lang yung ini-spread natin. Sa kakaspread natin ng radical na kabubuhan, 5 years o 5 years ng radical na kabubuhan, o yung pinaka-radical na kabubuhan, president, yun na yung magiging president of radical na kabubuhan. Yun yung gusto natin eh, di ba? Yung gusto natin is like, padaliin lang yung buhay natin, di ba? Di ba, mayroon naman tayong technology. Para saan ba yung technology kundi pagpapadali ng buhay ng mas maraming tao? So, paano natin papadaliin yung buhay ng mas maraming tao is just spread around what we think is radical na kabobohan. Spread it around and then people will be like, yeah, ang sarap. Ang sarap naman ito. Laging natututunan. Tapos kain ng ganun, di ba? Now, 5 years of that, and then the mist comes, death comes around. People who can smell death around are like, yun ang gusto nyo ah. Parang yung sana all, diba? Yung sana all explanation ka na parang, it's because when people want to wish for something, a bigger force out there will be like, oh, yan pala gusto nyo ah. Here's the real version of that now. Right? Here's the original na pinanggalingan yan. Kanya sabi mo sana all, o ito, filosofiya. Diba? Sabi mo sana all eh. Right? But let's say we do radical na kabobohan. 5 years, 10 years, 'di ba? 10 years natin gagawin 'yan, mga radical na kabobohan. Madali naman 'yan eh. Madali naman 'yan. Lalagyan mo lang ng sobrang daming edit, lalagyan mo lang ng sobrang daming sound effects na ginamit mo na 2 years ago. Pa-follow mo lang yung yung format ng mga radyo na sinasabi nila number one daw sila forever. Tapos ang nakikinig naman sa kanila mga taxi driver, mga nasa jeep, mga ganyan. Eh, 'di ba? Yung mga kabataan ngayon, kahit pa taxi driver ka, kahit jeepney driver ka, ang katwiran doon is meron ka namang selepono, meron ka namang something na pwede mong seryosohin at the same time pagtawanan at natututo ka pa rin, meron ka pa rin pinatutunguhan. And sort of that, what I'm really trying to say here is like, what if you learn so much about brain plasticity na mismong yung content na yung ginagamit mong pangkuryente dun sa mga parts ng utak mo na hindi gumagana. Parts ng utak mo na has never been lit up before, has never been sort of touched by sound, by different types of words, by different types of logic, by different types of configurations and bends, right? I remember talking about configurations with producers that I've trained before that even though they really are passionate about their music making, their arts and crafts, yun lang naman ang music eh. Arts and crafts, they have tools and ganyan. Ayaw nila kasi na-realize na ayoko naman maging marketer eh. Ayoko naman maging for the entertainment side of this eh. Gusto ko, irespeto ako ng mga talagang gumagawa nito for arts and crafts purposes. The scientists of this medium, right? I want myself to grow such that in 2 years, 3 years, malalaman na nila yung pangalan ko and I could be part of their list. Mapa-join na ako sa kanila. If you're doing something that you love, you wake up remembering this is what I love, this is what I really want to do. That's sort of the mindset you kind of want to be part of. That's sort of the mindset na gusto mong maging what do you call that? Maging katumbas yun ng effort mo na kung 1 month akong dumadaldal, 1 month akong gumagawa ng videos tuloy-tuloy every day, sometimes, man, I need my reward. I need my treat, right? I need to be recognized by I need to feel that I'm being recognized by a famous person or someone I respect, or I want to feel like I'm having a treat, at least that I'm doing a good job. galit na yung galit na yung pag ano, 'di ba? Kailangan ko nung good job ko, 'di ba? Kailangan ko nung ano ko, kailangan ko nung positive reinforcement, because I know from college that this is how psychology works. That if people run this society, run this sort of fake sort of, we're still building towards a better sort of believed prison in our minds. Then the wardens, the yung mga tagapag, mga people who rule in that, at least I could trust them with my psychological problems, right? That with my that they could provide for me the therapy that I need. And usually what therapy is just saying is like, if they're not, if usually ang experience sa therapy, if they're not taking thousands of your money per session, they're really just like, you know, sige, sabihin mo na, sabihin mo na. Okay, sinabi mo na. O sabihin mo na itong bagay na to, sabihin mo na. And then they're sort of, ang ginagawa kasi sa therapy, not to debunk it, but I really trust it sometimes. It's just it's so expensive, man. Um, they really want you to experience that psychological flow na parang sa dugo, kumbaga sa dugo, pinapaikot, ginagalaw ka lang, tinatap-tap ka lang dyan kung saan ka pwede pang, saan ka pa pwedeng buksan. Pero some of you guys, bukas na eh. Bukas na, open na nga eh, diba? Yung cannabinoids nyo, lagi ng buhay. When you feel that you have something to do with your fingers, you kind of feel your fingers. When you feel that your depression has evolved, it has been a huge part of your work psychology. That sometimes even sadness helps you with that. And then nakakasalamuha ka ng, or nakakita ka ng mga content na patagalog pa English pa cosplay pa ng kono nung mga borloloy. Tapos ituturo lang naman pala yung basic na kaya namang sabihin sa long form thing. Tapos kinot-cut nyo pa, 'di ba? Kinot-cut nyo pa para lang, alam mo 'yun, para lang yung next part na kung saan hindi na siya sure sa sinasabi niya, hindi na 'yan kasali, 'di ba? But they're getting the audience of, they're getting, alam mo 'yun, the 15 seconds of fame kind of thing. They're getting that, right? And I'm not anti that. I'm just saying that if that's not enough for you, then the next format is there. The next format is ready. What does it take for people now? And I'm questioning this as well. What does it take for this industry now, this space now, to be able to tell more people na, hey, did you know that this format is ready for consumption? It's totally free right now. These people are doing it. These people are doing it. And so forth, right? And, parang sa, pag may bagong MMO or Ragnarok or bagong ganyan, parang pagbukas na, maintindihan mo, kung matanda ka na, ay, ito na pala yung gusto ng mga bata, TikTokan, di ba? O kaya, talagang, yung nagpapaulol sa mga, sa effects sa TikTok, yung mga special effects, mga special edit, yung mga kembot-kembot ng ganito, ng mga ganyan, di ba? Nagpapaulol kayo sa mga ganun. Tapos it brings you sort of this dopamine hit, right? Now you don't realize that dopamine hit uh, comes into your system and makes you more even dependent to that sort of format. So in technology, parang you kind of want to ask yourself, what does this format really represent, right? What does this format really sort of, ano yung epekto na sa akin nito? Ano yung epekto sa akin nang nakikinig ako lagi sa Ilocano, nang nakikinig ako lagi sa Bicolano? Ano yung epekto sa akin nang nakikinig lagi ako ng, in my example, I'm listening to a lot of German content because I have plans in my life. And I'm listening also a lot of Japanese content because of my craftsmanship. Taking in a lot of woodwork kind of content right now, literal woodwork. And I reklamo ko lang a bit, is rant ko lang for a bit, is like when I started typing these on YouTube, now Facebook shows me the products related to that, which is just part of the algorithm of feeding you what you really want. And you can just imagine na wala namang ganito 10 years ago Walang ganito 10 years ago na paggising mo next bukas, parang kumaga may query ka sa internet. or 'pag inayos mo ng masyado yung internet mo, yung social sphere and algorithm mo, na sa gabi tina-type mo yung gusto mong aralin. Mage-gets ngayon nung algorithm ng Google na, itong tao na 'to ganito yung bibili na yan ng ganito, bibili na yan ng ganito. Ife-feed niya sa'yo ngayon. 'Di ba kaka-search mo lang kagabi ng ganito, mga in my case, bamboos, plants, types of plants, types of flowers for example. If not music kasi nung kabilang month, quarter, I was researching on music naman, electronic music, ambient music, cyberpunk music. Pagising mo sa umaga, sinaserve na sa'yo yung mix, 'di ba? Sinaserve na sa'yo. And you're like, what does that mean, right? Ano yung ibig sabihin nun? Ano yung heuristics nun? Ano yung ah, pagpapakahulugan nun? Saan yun nahuhulog sa pag-understand ko ng mundo? Kasi kung di yun nahuhulog, sabihin, baterya lang ako. 'Di ba? Hindi ba yun yung ibig sabihin nun? Na hindi ko naman talaga iniisip eh. Talagang yung the way you live in your social media is to become a battery for the system, right? To become this sort of energetic thing that inputs thing into the system, it uses you, and then yung kumbaga sa araw-araw mong paggamit nun, sometimes never nyo pa ba na ano yun na experience yun yung paggising mo parang, puto wala naman akong na-achieve 1 week na akong ganito. 'Di ba? Wala akong na-achieve, wala akong na plus one. Why is that? It's not the memory thing sometimes. It's just like, damn man, I don't think I contributed even to my family. I don't think I contributed something to my feed. My feed of people, 'di ba? Right now, 'di ba? Isasabi ko kung gaano katulin yung mga bagay if we were all DJs at some point, nagka-Spotify, if we were all photographers at some point, nagka-iPhone, now we want to build our own worlds, right? So ginagaya nyo na yung mga tito-tito nyo na ano na may sarili ring mundo, nakakulong doon sa mga bahay nilang malalaki. Oh, now you have your own world. Gusto mo ng own world Oh, ito, I can show you the world. Yun ang ginagawa sa'yo ni Facebook, ng Twitter, kung ano nung social platform na, oh ito, sige, gawa ka na ng sarili mong world. Uh, we'll feed you a slew of people who know just the same things that you do know. Alam din naman nila yung alam mo. So, but nagkakakitaan kayo nagkakaspatan kayo sa internet, and then you're like yung mga nangangapa parang, ito lang ako ito lang ako flower, ito lang ako, ganito lang ako forever. Okay? Okay. Then you're like that forever. Um, but then there are these people who are every day they're making a killing. Every day they're like, I'm a talk to these people. I'm a reach out and try to sell them something because my mom is dying. Because I have a story to tell. Because I found out that COVID is actually just sipon. Because I found out that after I found out that COVID is sipon, it is actually prophesied in this part of the book. And or because that after I healed from COVID, I got so much into Bob Marley saying that you can't keep on you can fool the people once or twice. I'm murdering this lyric. You can fool the people once or twice, but you can't keep on doing it. Hindi mo pwedeng, hindi, the wisdom there of that lyric is that magpapaloko ang tao sa'yo once or twice. Sige, papaloko sila sa'yo. Pero yung pangatlong beses na, maraming tao hindi na nagpapaloko dyan. Now that alam mo na sipon lang naman pala yan, ba't nung kami bibenta ng vaccine? Diba? Hindi ako na lang magtuturok sa sarili ko. Kaya ko rin namang gawin yan. Diba? Kung tattoo artist ka, diba? Mga tattoo artists, pare-parehas din mag-isip yan. Kasi isipin mo naman, lagi kayo may hawak na yun ang trabaho natin. Laging may hawak na blade. Diba? Ba't ka pa matatakot sa sipon? Or ano ba yung use na matakot ka sa sipon? In what format, in what sort of world event, yung talagang matatakot ka sa sipon, yung talagang ma-realize mo, may something dyan sa sipon na yan may something dyan sa tinatawag nilang COVID. And may something dyan sa sa pagre-research nung kung bakit daw galing sa ganitong bansa, bakit daw ganito, bakit naapektuhan yung stocks. You know, the knowledge of that talagang tumatakbo. And I realized during that pandemic just a year ago that kung sino pala yung mga talagang dati na, nandyan pa rin sila. Like what I've been always saying, nandyan pa rin sila. They're still saying the same things. They are still holding on to the same truths, right? Na yung kahit yung dating tinatakbuhan mo, dating hindi mo ma-express, maintindihan, or yung dati mong kinatatakutan, or dati mong sort of ayaw mo dati ngayon gusto mo na, 'di ba? Yung mga ganun. Or yung mga ayaw mo kasi of this petty kind of reason, then you realize ako pala yung nagkulang kaya ayoko sa ganyan. Iniwasan ko yung ganyan kasi kala ko hindi totoo. For example, adult continuous education, right? When that was being introduced to me, I was like, but I don't need that. I have my own loop. I have a I have a million in the bank, right? So that person who taught me adult continuous education, ang imbis na ituro niya na lang sa akin yung adult continuous education, kung paano how to make that loop ongoing, how to be part of that stocks game, of how to be part of that game, just the game, the adult game, right? Of tuloy-tuloy, yung being part, maybe that's being part out, being out of the rat race, or being a player of the rat race, a game master of the rat race, so that you could play with rats, or like um, when that was being taught to me, my reasoning was, but I have a million in the bank, right? I just turned into a millionaire. What do I freaking care if like you have something that I can that I have something that is better than, right? That logic, kumbaga, 'di ba? Mas maganda 'to eh. Ba't ko gustuhin ko 'yan? Tain naman 'yan eh. Ba't ako, eto kakabili ko lang ng kotse ko eh, 'di ba? Kakabili ko lang ng ano ko, ng recording system ko. May bago akong synthesizer eh. Ba't ako makikinig sa acoustic shit mo, 'di ba? Narinig niyo na ba yung ganong katwiran ng mga electronic artist? Totoo 'yun. Nagwo-work 'yun. So, ang gagawin nila, papasukin nila ngayon yung kung ano yung gusto mo. Kasi gusto ka nilang turuan eh, 'di ba? Yung mga ganong klaseng mag-isip. Yung mga ganong klaseng mag-isip na teacher who really sort of focus on influence, na porket daw nag-restart na, it's all about influence na naman daw. It's all about 'di ba yung mga it's all about pagalingan na naman daw ng kung ano yung pwedeng i-vlog. Pagalingan na naman daw ng kung anong pwedeng sabihin. Ang sa akin, parang ano ano ba yung use ng ano bang use ng meron kang format na pinanghahawakan mo ta's wala ka namang ibang natututunan. You're just alam mo yung narinig niyo ba yung kasabihan or word na salot, na habang gumagawa ka ng I'm just talking about the rat race here, right? Because sometimes I really forget that I haven't really escaped the rat race. Um, Alam niyo yung mga salot, yung word na salot, 'di ba? Pag yung ginagawa mo sa buhay, 'di ba and I'm sorry for rushing towards this, it's just that I'm filled with coffee right now, right? Yung tipong pag ang trabaho mo sa buhay is of this quality, then the quality of audiences that you will get is also of the same quality. Then parang kumbaga, kung ano yung tinanim mo, hindi ka naman pwede magtanim ka ng sitaw, tapos ang lalabas, kalabasa. Hindi, diba? Kung ano yung tinanim mo, yung puno na yon or yung halaman na yon, ang prutas nun, ganun din. So, kung yung content mo, for example, for instructions for content creators, right? If your content, for example, is based on chismis, opprobrium, based on anti-elitism, right? Based on galit ka sa mayaman eh. Kasi yung mayayaman, di sila, parang no touch sila, untouchable sila. Kala mo naman dami nilang alam eh. May alam akong chismis sa kanila. Or something like that. Or like you're stuck in that sort of parasitic mode, right? Na parang for you, it's just about power play. It's just about being in the next track, being in the next parang isang kayod, isang ganyan, but right, isang kayod, isang tuka. If ganun yung mo, And this is sort of in the cautionary tale sort of fashion na if ganun yung paggawa mo ng content, ganun ka mag-edit, ganun ka magpatawa, ganun ka maging humor, all I'm saying is you have to learn about Pinoyism. Pinoyism and I made a meme about this on our Rezbt-S Podcast hub. Search it on Facebook. Um, you have to learn about Pinoyism and nationalists and being a nationalist because sometimes you get so stuck in that kind of mentality or so stuck in that sort of sphere of yung parang cultural narrative na yung maging pangangatwiran mo na is because okay lang na maging okay lang na maging ganitong type of nakakatawa because Pinoy naman ako eh. Because mahal naman ako ng maraming Filipinos oh. Daming Filipinos na fans ko. Tignan mo, sobrang dami oh. Nakita nyo ba yan? Mga nagko-comment sa aking Filipinos. Right? Kailangan mahal ko yan, di ba? Iba ganun minsan. Or like, being a nationalist, right? Bilang parang, and tuturo ko kung bakit nakaka-stuck yan ah. Kunyari, nationalist ka na. Tapos yung binoto mo, 10 years after, failed. Right? Kasi balimbing tayo eh. Balimbing yung mga politiko, di balimbing na rin ako, 'di ba? Basta kung sino yung sabi nilang popular choice, yun na yung boboto ko, 'di ba? Kunyari, bumoboto ka. Anyway, so boboto ka. Sabihin ba nun, 10 years after, hindi ba naaalala ng mga goons mo, ng mga audiences mo, yung political preferences mo? Right? May political preferences ka eh. Nakikita sa ano mo eh. Nakikita sa signaling mo eh. Kunyari ako, di ba, lagi kong pinagtatawanan si Manny Pacquiao kasi lumaki naman ako na pinagtatawanan si Manny Pacquiao eh because now he has big dreams, right? And if you have someone who has bigger dreams than you, it's easier to laugh about them, right? It's easier to come from a humoristic point, di ba? Or nagayahin sila, di ba? Kung mahal mo talaga. Anyway, but like you realize, 'di ba, parang kulang. Parang kulang na yung pangangatwiran ko, yung reasoning ko, yung words ko, iniikot-ikot ko lang dun sa kino-corner ko lang yung mga tao dun sa Pinoy nationalist stuff. Eh kasi Pinoy tayo eh, Pinoy. Ganito ako eh, Pilipino lang naman ako, third world country lang naman tayo. Eh man, 5 years nang sinasabi yun, may skyway na, magkaka-subway na, ganun pa rin yung pangangatwiran mo, 'di ba? Parang di sana kung galing ka sa probinsya, pumunta ka na lang, magano ka na lang, makipagsapalaran ka na lang sa Metro Manila, mag-try ka man lang mag-ride ng train or ng LRT. Hindi yung, ang thinking mo is, kahit mayaman ka na, kahit edukado ka na, kahit graduate ka na, ang thinking mo pa rin is to work for an even better, mas poging, foreign looking, and magic sounding wizard from another part of the world. Diba? Parang sabihin, wala kang natutunan, diba? Parang mukha ka lang pera, diba? Tumaas naman yung sweldo mo eh, okay na yun. Diba? Wala kang masasabi ngayon dun sa mga nagtatrabaho na hindi naman sumisweldo. Si Elon Musk, sumisweldo pa ba yun, diba? Saka nakakitang richest man in the world, di sumisweldo. Anyway, what I'm saying is, you get to that point and yung reasoning mo, sablay eh. Sablay eh. Parang, sablay for your own listenership ah. Now, these are instructions for, creators and content creators, how you manage your audience, how you change yourself upon what's happening in your audience. Madali lang kung ha lang or emojis lang naman yung audience mo, wala naman talaga silang sinasabi. Imagine if you were in the government, diba? If you are one who cares deeply about what the people are saying, how they're saying it, and what language they're saying, what language they're using to say what they want. Easy lang yan yung makikita mo naman lalo na lumaki tayo na maraming English yung nakain natin. So pag naging English yung mga Pinoy, mga English yung mga Filipino, mga English yung mga kaklan mo sa ibang bansa, you kind of know if they're being humoristic about it. But there's people na nagtatagalog, minsan pag galit na sila, pag kailangan na nila ng something, talagang ginagawa nilang caps lock. Diba? Pag ginawa na nilang caps lock, ibig sabihin ba nun, seryoso, sumisigaw lang? Right? It really depends on which words they're using, which references which isms, which ideologies they're referring to, which kind of uh, 'di ba? Alam niyo yung move ni Thanos, yung may buwan, tas ginamit niya yung gloves, tas ginanon niya yung buwan sa Avengers, tinapon niya yung buwan sa Avengers. 'Di ba? Who does that, right? But powerful people do that, right? Powerful people sort of, or people who know how to use words kind of do that. What if they brought upon you this whole ideology na hindi mo alam, right? Na hindi mo kinaya dati. Hindi mo pa rin kaya ngayon. Yun lang naman yung logic dun eh. How things don't really add up. How things are invalid and irrational, right? Na hindi porket nag-i-English or hindi porket ganito ganyan yung content, masaya ka na. Masaya ka na. Masaya ka na sa ganun dahil may natutunan kang banyaga, 'di ba? Masaya ka na dahil akala mo sa mirror, sa picture, akala mo kasing ganda mo na si Jenny. Kasi lagi mo siyang nakikita eh, 'di ba? Yung imposter syndrome, 'di ba? Ito yung sa mga sarap ituro sa mga bata eh. Alam mo yung imposter syndrome, yung akala mo ikaw na rin yung kakanood mo, 'di ba? Kakatingin mo sa sarili mo sa mirror or hindi mo inaaral yung kung ano talaga yung bato na hinahawakan mo. Tapos hinihimas-himas mo. Hindi mo na-realize na na ikaw na si Gollum. Alam mo yun? Yung parang akala mo ikaw na yung wala na yung ring sa'yo, the ring of power. Wala na yung ring of power sa'yo. Akala mo pa rin, sort of, nasa'yo pa rin. You're still invincible. And then you seek it pa, hinahanap mo pa. Kahit nandun na siya sa ibang hobbit. Now, what is the solution for that then, Rez? You speak so much of a lot of problems, a lot of ganyan. The solution for that, I think, is to form a room, which is a very sound engineer sort of philosophy, diba? To form a room, gumawa ka ng kwarto, gumawa ka ng study, gumawa ka ng project na kung saan mali-layout mo yung mga pwede mong, kung gusto mong maging continuous about your pangangatwiran, ah, yung reasoning mo, gusto mong gumaling sa kasi to be honest, sa mga listeners, right, is like, masakit din naman sa iba yun eh, yung parang na-stuck ka. Tapos parang na-traumatize ka. Pag na-stuck ka tapos na-traumatize ka, isipin mo ngayon, ano bang type of trauma to? Is this like arte trauma? Is this like post-traumatic? I'm not di ko kumbaga binababo yung mga real effects, 'di ba? But consider for a fact that dahil sa kaadikan natin na i-follow yung COVID virus spreading, we took for granted how many people, yung stats naman ng suicide, yung stats naman ng mental health, 'di ba? O yung stats pa ng things that trigger us. Hindi ko na tutuloy-tuloy pero things are very much triggering that we are protected from because we have this privilege of being part of this clean space, right? But when you bring it there, kung hindi ka naman, kung ayaw mo naman dun talaga, it's just really just realizing that okay, this is how the logic of algorithms work. Na on one side, it provides me with the things I like, that provides me with the next step for tomorrow. But on one side, it also protects me from the reality. So now we come onto this idea of forming sub realities that are independent from each other, but also have the capacity to really connect and communicate with each other. You see where I'm at with the world building? And if more people could do this, have a space where it's like clean, content is appreciated, words are really sort of put into better containers, processed as if they're not part of a feeding system that is meant for lower animals. Yung ibig sabihin nun is, if I could do this for myself, if nagagawa ko to, and you find yourself saying na, hey, yung tito ko ganyan din, parang kaya rin yung ginagawa mo eh. Well, what's the secret, right? What's the secret sauce? What's the juice? Ano bang brand ng ano mo, ng gatas mo? Paano mo nalalaman na ganyan yung gagawin mo? In order for 2 or 3 years be able to build something that you are already saying in your podcast, 'di ba? Now I'm talking to myself in this podcast. Now that I'm exercising my will, I'm like, okay, if I could build this for everyone and create this promise na we'll have a space that's mas matalino, mas magaling mag-reason, mas matulin, right? Mas palag than anything other na hindi na tsutsuge, hindi yung may nangyaring, alam mo yun, hindi na ako COVID. Ito hindi to na ako COVID kasi ano eh, hindi na nga nagmamask eh, 'di ba? Or like marami namang alcohol eh, 'di ba? Yung marami namang lusot, 'di ba? Pag nalalaman mo na yung ganyan, or naintindihan mo na where content sometimes leads you into, sabihin ko na lang, it sometimes leads you to the final space, right? To the game. It leads you to the game where ang kalaban nyo na lang is either sarili nyo or the big bosses. And every time, you're just preparing for the big boss. We're just this one big squad of people who have gone through more than we need to, have realized uh, things that we can say or and not say. We have chosen our roles, right? We have chosen our path in the matrix. You have taken the red pill, and then you realize there's still a boss out there. There's still this thing na na people are identifying as, hey, have you checked this part out, where ano na if you go really deep into, diyan mo na makikita yung types of monsters, types of really more dangerous things that we can make notes on. Ito yung delikadong part nito. Masarap 'to pag-usapan, pero ito yung delikadong part niyan. Because na-experience ko na 'to eh. Dati meron akong ex na ganito mag-isip, tapos ganito yung nangyari sa amin. At yung nangyari sa amin, hindi ko muna ikikwento sa inyo. Di ba ganito yung magkwento yung mga tito? Yung mga nangyari sa amin, hindi ko muna ikikwento sa inyo. Gagawin ko muna ng content. Di ba? May gusto kong explain eh, na may gusto ko sa yung explain, pero sasabihin ko na lang passionate ako about this. Gets ko naman eh, passionate ako about this. Ito talaga yung bago kong ano eh, ito talaga yung bago kong channel eh. All that jargon, right? I think there's something bigger than that even. And it all just, yung jargon ko lang doon, yung pagpapakahulugan ko lang doon, heuristics, paglologos ko lang doon, sasabi ko na there's a final space out there. There's a space, or hindi naman sa final, na for this decade at least, it's gonna be, for this generation, it's gonna be the newest thing. The thing that would be ano, ang tawag sa ganun, that's very tempting for technocrats, something like that. For technocrats, for as you learn more about technology, as you experience more people creating their own content, getting the juice from their chosen content creators, um, and then kung lampas na sila sa visual, for example, kung artist ka na, hindi ka na nagpapaloko dun sa sa visual design, na nakalampas ka na dun sa pagkabulag mo from pagiging addict sa visuals, at unti-unti ka nang pumapasok muli, bumabalik ka na uli dun sa pakikinig, the first step, right? And tapos ano pa, naintindihan mo pa yung sinasabi kong trending onomatopoeia. Paano mo ba tatalunan yung trending onomatopoeia? How can you not, how can you refrain yourself from playing that Super Mario NES kind of game na talon ka dito, talon ka dito, talon ka dyan. Sa ending, may scoring, di ba? Tapos nakuha mo ba yung prinsesa? Nakuha mo ba yung, o kaya kung bading ka, nakuha mo ba yung yung magandang edit, di ba? Natuto ka bang mag-edit ng mas maganda, right? Ito yung lagi kong pinupuntahan, because until, I think, as a if I'm just being a social engineer right now, if I'm thinking in that term, or world building for what we know now, is just until we can build certain types of industries, until I can you and your clan members, your lolo, your tito, your ganyan, until masabi nila talaga na nakakagawa ka na ng something from nothing, or sinasabi mo na pwede naman akong, I can play God, you know? I can play God because I know of this, I know of that, right? Tapos gusto mo maniwala sila sa'yo, di ba? Because you play God sometimes, right? But until you could do that, and then mabangga ka dun sa reality na, hey, we need this type of industry pala. I cannot play God and not have a world building scheme. And I cannot, I cannot create a game for myself. I cannot play a language game. I cannot build a theory of everything if I don't have the, for it, the mind space for it, the head space for it. I cannot create I cannot write a non-fictional based Tagalog theory of everything if I don't have enough Tagalog thinkers, if I don't have enough Tagalog minds, right? Kung di ako masyadong nakakita ng Tagalog sa content nyo, kung di ako masyadong nakakaramdam ng progress ng Tagalog, it doesn't help me, right? It doesn't help my research lang naman. It's not this. I'm not kind of like hindi man ako nagrereklamo talaga. But I'm telling myself and I'm telling my audiences right now, if you're a researcher, if you're mahilig ka magbasa, na it's not, my reasoning is that if you are resonating with the show's purpose, the res-based Tagalog scene, school, squamine, squatteran, uh, smorgasbord, kahit anong S pa yan, podcast na kung saan nagsasalita ako, nagiging matatas ako sa pag-base Tagalog ko because of the theory. The theory now has an expectation, 'di ba? Kung yung theory buhay, kung yung theory magsasalita, siya na yung nagsasalita. Kung yung base Tagalog theory yung nagsasalita, meron siyang expectation of me, of the listeners, of the we have to feed it. I have to be able to feed it this type of information. I have to be able to feed it just like in AI, if the AI was a thing, if it's just an idea, if it's just a intangible culture, you still have to feed it constantly. How much do you have to feed it? How many words does it have to learn? Diba? Ano yung mga translation na tama? Ano yung mga translation na mali? Because, you know, it could go X and Y. It could go 0 and 1. And if that triggers you or doesn't trigger you, it's just that it's not that I don't care. It's just that I know this as like something as I near my end now. I know this as something as somewhat of a programmer myself. As somewhat of a programmer, I know that it will help create a better sort of environment for the theory. Now, if if the theory gets developed more, it will have more postulates, may corollaries, and then magkaka data sets, right? Magkaka data sets na aaralin na ngayon yung mga tropes, di ba? For example, if I say now that the trope that I'm studying is the military industrial complex, advertising complex, then I should pay attention to how the military is able to advertise their complex, diba? Is able to show their power without in the industrial scene, right? And how the industrial complex is also showing competitiveness, is also showing kung ano yung pinanghahawakan nila, kung ano yung importante, kung ano yung values nila, dun sa way nila ng pag-advertise. Na if I should go on, if we should go on either bastardizing or like criticizing these advertisements, then we should have a reason why. Hindi naman pwedeng nag-serve ako ng problema, tapos wala naman palang solution, or no one's working on the solution. It's not logical. It's not logical to put up a problem or to identify a problem and not have a target solution by some tangible date with some real people who are also thinking about that, right? It's impossible for someone like me to not have co-thinkers, right? Someone like us. It's impossible, diba? Konting konting part lang ng content ng long format, just a piece of it, and I've learned this from other podcasts, just a piece of it could be very transformational for you, for your brother, for your sister, your pinsan, ganyan. Eh, ang kailangan mo lang naman sabihin, alam mo ba na fino-formulate na yung base Tagalog theory by these people, and ito yung main scientist diyan, ito yung ganito nila ginagawa, o merong fiction side, merong non-fictional side. I was asked by my girlfriend recently if like I was reading up on fiction or non-fiction. Sabi ko, I'm reading. Oh, sorry. I was asked by my girlfriend recently if I'm gonna buy new books about fiction or non-fiction. Sabi ko non-fiction because I really love non-fiction, and and of course she knows I write fiction, and I'm still writing my fiction. It's the logic of that, 'di ba? Kahit kanino is so that I could ground myself to 'di ba? Sa strategy na here is a base Tagalog story, a fiction of how base Tagalog is being used. But the base Tagalog in nonfiction, this is how I think it's being theorized. It's being infectious. It's being an idea that keeps people working for a better world, right? Diba? A better reality, a digital reality at first, because we're not super connected with real people right now. I can't, hindi naman ako yung tipong uh, nakiki-extra sa mga sa mga, what do you call this, sa mga squads of people. I'm really not like that, because I'm very introverted. But it doesn't mean that you being part of this space na gagayahin mo na rin yun. Of course, I speak with a lot of teachers. I speak to a lot of moms. I speak to a lot of titas, titos with their own businesses, diba? Even if you don't have the will to be able to comment, I'm saying that this is an open space. This is I've always been saying, diba? And whatever stops you from penetrating that is on you. Diba? Whatever stops you from uh I think this is the way to express this. Kasi yung bang tao, para sa kanila nananakot daw or like, it's like a power play, right? But what I'm saying is, whatever that's stopping you from communicating is on you. One, inaamin ko naman, di ba? I'm not the type of person that you think I am. But this is the content that the Rezbt-S podcast requires of me. So now you could see the separation, right? Na Rez Toledo is all about non-fictional work, discipline, strategy, and history. Whereas the Rez BTS podcast could be something else. And, it's one way of saying that I'm grateful to everybody for joining the group, the podcast, the space. But it's also this whole stroke, I think, is just a push to be able to say one thing, that you should play the game. You should role play into the content space that you're being part of, right? Pag wala kasi 'yon, baka alam mo 'yun, baka may iba ka nang ma-imagine. And, it's just that the two things that we really suffer is memory and imagination, right? The two biggest things, 'di ba? Two biggest things. Ilapat na natin dun sa jargon tuloy. Dun sa slots ng base Tagalog theory, right? Which is, on one side we have religion. On one side, yeah, we have religion and tribalism, and on the other side we have Pinoyism and nationalists justifications, right? So, ano yung imagine dyan at ano yung memory dyan? Could be hand in hand. Could be a different assignment for a different person. But like, if you decide, for example, that Pinoyism and tribalistics is the imagined side, and then the memory side is religion and tribalism. Sorry, Pinoyism and nationalistics. So, Totoo naman eh. Yung marami nang nagtuturo na mga political theorists pa nga nagturo na to eh, diba? Na parang, didn't you know that Pinoy stuff and national stuff was just considered imagined before, 'di ba? Inimagine lang yan dati. Tapos 5 years after, 10 years after, nagka-build, build, build, whatever, na naging totoo na. Now, 'di ba? Ano yung effect nun? Is that something that we can take for granted or account for in the future? On the other hand, yung memory side, what do you remember really of your tribe, 'di ba? Yung tribal instincts mo, yung branches mo inside you, for example, what do you remember of that? Which religious memories are still intact? Because in the end of the day, it's still a memory, right? You still have to realize that memory is overrated. Memory is not something that is uh should be taken seriously, right? It's just an image, right? 'Di ba? Parang naaalala mo lang. And that's the two things, that's the two walls that I play around with. Kumbaga nandiyan yung ping pong ko. Nandiyan yung ping pong ko. Um, Assigning sort of the logic of imagination and memory, and binabangga ko sa what I know now as na-observe ko na bagay na mga nagbibigay ng pakahulugan, pakahulugan, heuristics na nga eh. Heuristics, yung meaning-giving knowledges that we sort of actually want to express, 'di ba? Na yung mga tao na na nangangatwiran tapos ine-edit, tapos makikita mo, Pinoyism yan eh. Nationalists yan eh. Dapat pakita nila na blue and yellow and red sila, 'di ba? Na na 'di ba? O kaya yung Pinoyism, 'di ba yung kunyari yung laging pinapakita na squatteran lang yung yung background. Yung mga gano'n ba? Yung mga may kaya naman pero nagvo-vlog dun sa mga tambakan ng mga kahoy, mga gano'n. Yung mga lote nila na may mga tambak-tambak lang. May bahay naman sila, may studio naman sila, pero dun sila nagvo-vlog. Alam mo yung mga gano'n? 'Di ba? So parang sana mas honest sila, 'di ba? Sana mas honest sila na, "Oh, this is a Pinoy thing. We dominate." 'Di ba? Parang o kaya if they're being humoristic about, if they're promulgating Pinoy humor, they should be more honest for that. Now, on the other side, religion and tribalism. Now, if you remember this and that, you should be more honest with what you remember. Yung parang kinikwento ko lagi in my rants. I remember when I used to mix a lot with Catholic born friends, right? And deep inside me, I was in deep shit, man. I was in deep shit the moment I realized that they know that I'm not Catholic, right? You are in deep shit every time you remember that I'm not Catholic, because if you're Catholic, right, you're in deep shit, right? Parang you were in deep shit when you realize that I'm not Catholic, right? I grew up in a Catholic school, but 'di ba lagi kong sinasabi, and there's a lot of podcasters saying that, and there's not just podcasters, a lot of people now saying that. I actually just grew up with that. That was from my past, the memory of religions, right? The part of us that's still inside us, yung sound ng tribalismo. Okay? And that's where I'll end. Pataas. Positive note. My name is Rez Toledo. Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast. I hope you had a great time listening. Please do join the Rezbt-S Podcast Hub. Just search for that string, Rezbt-S Podcast Hub. It's a public space on Facebook for more subsidiary stuff and supplementary knowledge about my trip and my journey. I'm still doing the monologic series so I could prepare for an even bigger future of the Res BTS podcast. The monologic series is just me doing 40 episodes of monologues and teaching myself and teaching talaga. Namin ko naman na nagsawa ako sa music, so I kind of wanna nagsawa rin ako sa learning, 'di ba? Feel ko ako yung mga taong feel ko ang dami ko nang natutunan. Kailangan ko na atang ilabas. And nilalabas ko naman through podcasting. And I'm really thankful for this technology even. That's it. That's pretty much it. Since I'm doing this alone, I will go about editing this and keeping it making it even cleaner. And I'm still working on uploading it simultaneously in different platforms para mas maraming ways nyo ma-appreciate. And pag mas maraming ways nyo ma-appreciate, I hope you could see that as sort of a service from my end so that you could share the service also more with other people. Diba? Hindi yung service na what you know of service na ganyan. Parang for me talaga it's just a servant-like mentality because like um yung lagay na lang natin dun sa pakahulugan nung serbisyo, 'di ba? Bisyo maging sir, alam mo 'yun? Bisyo na 'to bisyo na 'to sir, alam mo 'yun? And podcasting is really like that. I don't blame the words, I don't blame Tagalog for being like that. It's just that I'm really caught up in this loop of content creation. That's pretty much it. Relaxing audio and instruction for content creators and creators. If manggagawa ka, if like gumagawa ka ng kung ano-ano, it's really like, I hope from the bottom of my heart, I hope like this helps you and keeps you grateful and keeps you looking forward into the future where marami pang pwedeng mangyari. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.